20 times, humanity did something that had never been done before. 20 moments when the species looked up, calculated the impossible, and crossed it. This is not a list of dreams. It is a list of things that actually happened. Things we did, with the hands and minds we have. From a beeping metal sphere in low orbit to a telescope that sees the edge of time. This is what we have already achieved in space. On October 4th, 1957, a Soviet rocket released an 83-kilogram metal sphere into low Earth orbit. It beeped. That was all it did. Transmit a radio signal at 20 and 40 megahertz, detectable by amateur receivers around the world. The United States heard it. The world heard it. And within 12 years, the country that launched it first would watch, in silence, as the other one walked on the moon. On April 12, 1961, a 27-year-old Soviet Air Force pilot named Yuri Gagarin climbed into a capsule barely large enough to hold him and was launched into orbit. He completed one revolution of the Earth in 108 minutes. He landed by parachute in a field near the Volga River. He had seen the curvature of the planet. He later said, "The Earth is blue. How wonderful. It is amazing." Nothing had prepared the world for that sentence. On March 18, 1965, Alexei Leonov floated out of the Voskhod 2 capsule and became the first human being to exist in open space. He was outside for 12 minutes and 9 seconds. His spacesuit inflated in the vacuum until he could not bend his knees and could not re-enter the airlock. He vented oxygen from the suit, risking decompression sickness, and forced himself back inside. History recorded the 12 minutes. It almost didn't record anything after. December 1968. 3 American astronauts, Borman, Lovell, and Anders, became the first human beings to leave Earth's gravitational influence and enter lunar orbit. They circled the moon 10 times. On Christmas Eve, they read from the Book of Genesis on a live broadcast received by the largest television audience in history. Anders took a photograph out the window, a blue sphere rising over a gray lunar horizon. He called it Earthrise. It became one of the most reproduced images ever made. July 20th, 1969. The lunar module, Eagle, touched the Sea of Tranquility. Neil Armstrong descended the ladder and pressed his boot into the regolith. 600 million people were watching. Buzz Aldrin followed. They planted a flag, collected 47 pounds of lunar rock, and left a plaque. "We came in peace for all mankind." 12 human beings have walked on the moon. The last was Eugene Cernan, December 14th, 1972. None have returned since. Venus has a surface temperature of 465 degrees Celsius and an atmospheric pressure 90 times greater than Earth's. No spacecraft had survived its surface. On December 15th, 1970, the Soviet probe Venera 7 descended through the Venusian atmosphere and landed. It transmitted data for 23 minutes before the heat destroyed it. It was the first spacecraft to successfully transmit from the surface of another planet. The mission had been designed to last 30 minutes. It lasted 23. That was enough. The Soviet Union launched Salyut 1 in 1971, humanity's first space station. Mir followed in 1986, eventually hosting 125 cosmonauts from 12 nations over 15 years of continuous operation. Cosmonaut Valery Polyakov spent 437 consecutive days aboard Mir, still the longest single spaceflight in history. The station burned up over the Pacific in 2001, visible from the ground as it fell. What it proved, that humans can endure long-duration spaceflight, was never seriously questioned again. Launched in September 1977, Voyager 1 conducted close flybys of Jupiter and Saturn before continuing outward. On August 25, 2012, scientists confirmed it had crossed the heliopause, the boundary of the solar wind, and entered interstellar space. It is the most distant human-made object in existence. It carries a golden record, greetings in 55 languages, 27 musical pieces, and the sound of surf, wind, and rain on Earth. It is 24 billion kilometers away. It is still transmitting. We are still listening. Launched in April 1990, Hubble immediately revealed a problem. Its primary mirror had been ground to the wrong shape by 2.2 micrometers. Congress was furious. The press called it a failure. In 1993, astronauts conducted one of the most complex spacewalks in history and installed corrective optics. Hubble subsequently produced over 1.5 million scientific observations and helped establish that the universe is 13.8 billion years old. It was not a failure. It was the most consequential telescope humanity has ever built. On July 4, 1997, the Pathfinder lander descended onto Ares Vallis using airbags, bouncing 20 meters before coming to rest. The Sojourner rover rolled onto the Martian surface. It weighed 10.6 kilograms. Pathfinder had been designed to operate for 30 days. It lasted 83 Martian sols. It returned over 16,500 images. Sojourner was the proof of concept, a small, slow machine that showed what was possible. Everything that followed owes it something. On November 2, 2000, astronaut Bill Shepard and cosmonauts Yuri Gidzenko and Sergei Krikalev became the first resident crew of the International Space Station. Since that day, there has not been a single moment when a human being was not living in space. The ISS spans 109 meters. It cost approximately $150 billion to construct and operate. It has hosted over 270 people from 21 nations. It is the most expensive structure in human history, and the most international thing our species has ever built. Saturn's moon Titan has a dense atmosphere, liquid lakes, and riverbeds carved not by water, but by liquid methane and ethane. On January 14, 2005, the Huygens probe detached from the Cassini orbiter and descended through Titan's orange haze. 2 hours and 27 minutes later, it reached the surface, the most distant planetary landing in human history. Confirmation of touchdown took 67 minutes to travel to Earth at the speed of light. The probe recorded sounds, wind sounds, from another world. For 85 years, Pluto was a dot on a photograph. On July 14, 2015, after 9.5 years of travel across 4.67 billion miles, New Horizons performed its flyby and revealed a world of towering mountains and vast nitrogen ice plains. Scientists discovered a heart-shaped basin 1,600 kilometers wide, now named Tombaugh Regio. Water ice mountains rose 3,500 meters from the surface. Pluto had been reclassified as a dwarf planet 9 years earlier. New Horizons showed it had been extraordinary all along. On April 10, 2019, the Event Horizon Telescope collaboration released an image, a glowing ring of superheated gas surrounding a dark shadow, a black hole 6.5 billion times the mass of the Sun in a galaxy 55 million light-years away. 8 synchronized radio telescopes across 4 continents had operated as a single Earth-sized instrument to capture it. Albert Einstein had predicted the exact shape of that shadow in 1916. 103 years later, the image confirmed he had been right. On April 19, 2021, the Ingenuity helicopter lifted off from the Martian surface and flew for 39 seconds, the first powered, controlled flight ever achieved on another planet. Ingenuity carried a small piece of fabric from the original Wright Flyer. Perseverance, the rover it arrived with, has been collecting sealed rock cores from ancient lake beds. Those samples may one day return to Earth. Somewhere in that sediment may be the most consequential discovery in the history of science. Webb was launched on December 25, 2021, and settled into an orbit 1.5 million kilometers from Earth, 4 times the distance to the Moon. Its primary mirror spans 6.5 meters. It operates at -233 degrees Celsius. Its first images revealed galaxies existing 13.5 billion years ago, when the universe was less than 3% of its current age. Astronomers began revising their models within weeks. Webb had made their existing frameworks insufficient. It is still observing. It has years of work ahead. On September 26, 2022, the DART spacecraft struck the asteroid Dimorphos at 6.1 kilometers per second. Dimorphos was 160 meters wide and posed no threat to Earth. That was not the point. The impact shortened Dimorphos's orbital period around its parent asteroid by 33 minutes, nearly 10 times the minimum required for mission success. Humanity had deliberately altered the trajectory of a celestial body for the first time. Planetary defense was no longer theoretical. We had tested it. It worked. No human being has yet stood on the surface of another planet. That sentence will not be true forever. NASA's Artemis architecture and SpaceX's Starship are the leading vehicles converging toward this threshold. The journey to Mars takes approximately 7 months each way. The surface offers an average temperature of -60 degrees Celsius, intense radiation, and dust storms that can last for months. Every problem has a proposed solution. The only question remaining, the only one that matters, is when. Planned by a consortium of space agencies, NASA, ESA, JAXA, and CSA, the Lunar Gateway is a crewed station intended to orbit the Moon permanently. It will serve as a staging point for lunar surface missions and, in time, for departure toward Mars. It is not a destination. It is infrastructure. The difference between visiting and remaining. Humanity spent 60 years going to the Moon on brief, impossible missions. The Gateway is the beginning of a permanent relationship, the first fixture in a new neighborhood. Beneath Europa's icy crust, a shell estimated between 10 and 30 kilometers thick, lies a liquid ocean containing more water than all of Earth's oceans combined. Tidal heating from Jupiter keeps it liquid. The chemical conditions for life, as we understand them, exist. We know this with confidence. A lander mission would be the first spacecraft ever designed specifically to search for life beyond Earth. If it finds something, if it finds even the trace of something, the word alone ceases to mean what it has always meant. That is what number 1 is.